Guys, if you're new to Deception Bytes, hit the like and subscribe button and be sure to hit the bell to be notified of future videos. If you wish to support the channel, the links are in the description below. Now, fasten your seatbelt. Here we go. Okay guys, it is Wednesday, June 19th, and it is 5:01 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, I know what you're thinking. No way! She's recording at 5 p.m.? Yeah, I am, because my goal is to push my recording times back a little further so that I'm recording earlier in the day. That way, if anything comes up in the evening that I have to attend to, I'm not missing recording the show. And last night I didn't record because my internet was spotty, which is not really conducive to doing a show because I couldn't count on it for any longer than 5, 10, 15 minutes. So anyway, we do not have any Q posts for today, but there's always plenty of Q related news and just plain news in general that I think you'll find pretty interesting. So let's get started. Now, I do also want to mention that it's very hot in here and I can't run my air conditioner because it sounds like a freight train. Not sure what to do about that, but I do have a fan blowing so that I don't become just like a big puddle of sweat. And hopefully it's not going to interfere, but if you hear it and it's annoying, please let me know and I'll either move it or turn it off in the future. But for the summer anyway, it gets hot in here, and especially at this time of day because I get the direct sun. So there you go. All right, let's get started. And let's start with this because it kind of ties in with the last video I did on the insect apocalypse. Well, the insect apocalypse continues, and I think it's very odd that there seems to be this plague in so many places throughout the world right now and happening simultaneously. I think that's a little bit odd. Now, hey, call me paranoid. Well, not really paranoid, but yeah, I do tend to question things a lot, and that's okay because we're seeing things that are not the norm. Everything seems to be a little bit out of whack the world over. So let's just look at this, and this interested me, of course, because this is where I lived. I used to cross over this causeway every single day, and in the causeway that connects the Baton Rouge and New Orleans, I traveled that road every single day, and so I was shocked to see this. This is from WGNO, which is a local station there. It says, dropping like flies, literally thousands of flies reported on the Causeway Bridge. Now, that bridge is creepy enough. I'm just saying, it's a creepy bridge. But look at this. This is the bumper of a car. It's just, you can't even see. Now, don't look at these images, it says, on a full stomach. Too late. Over the past week or so, hundreds of residents traveling across the Causeway Bridge have had to battle an uncommon pest referred to as a midge fly, or small, non-biting, smelly pest. These small flies have swarmed by the thousands over the past week, with reports of the smelly bugs in New Orleans East, the lakefront near West End, and along the length of the Causeway Bridge from the North Shore to the South Shore. Very interesting. Check out these before and after photos from Jamie Gannon after his trek on the Causeway Bridge Tuesday morning. So this was yesterday, and I'm sure they're still there, swarming around like crazy little insects they are. The swarming flies are believed to be a result of extended river flooding of the Mississippi River, which has been flowing through the Bonnet-Carré spillway into Lake Pontchartrain. How long will the swarms last? It's hard to predict. This type of fly is believed to have a relatively short lifespan. However, persistent flooding of the Mississippi River through June could spell more flies through the end of the month. And of course, we've got flooding all over the U.S. in different regions in the U.S., and which is causing more mosquitoes, more, which brings with it mosquito-borne illnesses. Now, this is a picture of his the grill of his Ram truck before and after. I mean, that's ludicrous. I'm really glad I'm not traveling on that bridge because I remember my car broke down along a swampway, and I can't remember what road it was, but it was along a swamp, and the air conditioner wasn't working. I had to roll down the windows, and literally the inside of my car, you looked and it was just covered with mosquitoes, everywhere mosquitoes, and which is not a good thing there, because mosquitoes bring all sorts of diseases. So anyway, I think that this is odd, and I'm not sure, because when I was there were these little bugs that they called kissing bugs. And I don't know why they called them kissing bugs. I guess it's because there was always two of them joined together, which I think they were mating, but not kissing. But anyway, apparently somebody told me that they had imported these bugs in to deal with the mosquitoes, but now these bugs are overrunning the whole area. Now, I don't know if these midge flies are what they refer to there as kissing bugs. I don't know. I'd have to look that up, but it's interesting nonetheless. So let's go on now. Enough about, but are you feeling itchy? I'm feeling a little bit itchy. I'm just saying, feeling a little itchy. Okay. Now let's look at this. Another Hillary person disappeared. Yeah, disappeared. Seems to happen a lot. And I hear Sammy into something. Won't that be a surprise when I get done and I get to go see what he's done? Yeah. Welcome to my life. All right, exclusive. Corrupt Clinton Foundation Foreign Policy Director Amitabh, I can't pronounce that, Desai, disappears. I bet he just disappeared. A major corrupt player at the Clinton Foundation has vanished over the past decade. The Clinton Foundation's, I can't say, but the last name is Desai, was very active capturing money for the foundation. The far left New York Times even commented on this when Desai was involved in a transaction with Russia. Oh, I thought it was only Donald Trump that was colluding with Russia. On June 4th, 2012, the foreign policy director at the Clinton Foundation, last name Desai, reached out to Cheryl Mills, Jake Sullivan, and Michael Fuchs at the State Department via email. The subject line was Russia, Victor Vesselberg. Vesselberg and his company, the Renova Group, had contributed between $10,000 and $25,000 to the Clinton Foundation. It read, would the State Department have any concerns about Clinton Global Initiative inviting Victor Vesselberg, president of Renova Group, to attend CGI annual meeting in New York City in September? The email appeared to have gone unanswered. Vesselberg did indeed come to the U.S. in October 2012, Schweitzer writes. Now, but this was not Desai's first clandestine transaction to the foundation. In 2011, it was reported that Clinton Health Initiative, Ira Magaziner, sent an email to Clinton campaign chair John Podesta, Clinton Foundation Foreign Policy Director Mr. Desai, Douglas Band, an aide to former U.S. President Bill Clinton, and two others regarding Saudi Arabia and Ethiopian billionaire Sheikh Mohammed Hussein Ali Al Ahmad. Above, Magaziner writes, Chai would like to request the President Clinton call Sheikh Mohammed to thank him for offering his plane to the conference in Ethiopia and expressing regrets that President Clinton's schedule does not permit him to attend the conference. Desai replies, unless Sheikh Mohammed has sent a $6 million check, this sounds crazy to do. Bland then comments, if he doesn't do it, Chai will say he didn't give the money because of WJC Bill Clinton. William J. Clinton. Podesta writes, I agree with Doug, and this seems rather easy and harmless and not a big-time sink. Thus, it can be seen Sheikh Mohammed is giving some money to the foundation, though the amount is unknown, although the exchange shows Podesta, who has no position in the foundation, helping make foundation decisions. This was just the beginning for Desai. And it goes through, I'm not going to read all of this because it's very involved, but he has vanished. Citizens United, the conservative watchdog group, requested emails from the Clinton Foundation, and in particular those of Mr. Desai. Of course, this was delayed only with only 17 emails provided in the first 2 months out of an estimated 4,000 email requested. So interesting that he has now, it seems like one by one, anyone that could in fact be subpoenaed to testify against the Clintons, and particularly Hillary Clinton, has disappeared or died suspiciously or commit suicide by shooting themselves in the back of the head with the wrong arm. Just a coincidence, I'm sure. All right, now let's go on. I found this very interesting. Sure would like to know what that cat's up to. Yes, I would. All right, or maybe I don't. Outgoing remittances from United States to other countries. This is interesting. Migrants working in the United States sent a staggering 138 billion back to their families last year. So they're earning this money in the States and then they are sending it outside of the States instead of spending it within. And these are the countries that it's going to. Mexico, 28.1 billion. That is one of the major ones. And of course, these bubbles represented by the size of the amount that's being sent. So as you can see, Mexico is the bulk. Nigeria, 5.7, India, 10.7, China, 15.4 billion, Philippines, 10.5, Vietnam, 6.7. And of course, we have other smaller ones, Haiti, Ecuador, Canada, 0.9 billion, Honduras, 3.4, Jamaica, 1.7, and Africa, 6.6, that's percent is spent. America's 42% is sent outside in the Americans. That's North America, Central and South America accounts for 42% of the money that is sent out of the country. So, yeah, interesting. We are building up other countries, and, you know, it's not just what we give them in aid, it's also that their citizens are here earning money in the States and sending that money back to other countries. And okay, you know, that's understandable if they have family members that are struggling in other countries, but it also means that there's less money spent here in the States, which benefits all of us by providing jobs and so forth. So infrastructure, all that stuff. And, you know, not all of these people are paying taxes either. So especially the illegals, they're not paying taxes. And that's an issue as well, because we need those taxes for infrastructure and, you know, health programs, all sorts of things. All right, let's go on here and get to the next one. There, now Sammy's out where I can see him. I feel much better about that, to tell you the truth, but I love him. I do. Okay, weaponized immigration is designed to destabilize the country prior to civil war and evasion. Now, this was submitted by Dave Hodges on Tuesday, June 18th. I think he does the Common Sense show. I don't know if you listen to that on YouTube or not. I do quite a bit. I listen to it when I can, and I think it's a good show. Definitely a patriot. All it takes is one virus particle, says Elaine Donnelly, president of the Center for Military Readiness. She has repeatedly stated this fact for the last 4 years. Donnelly further elaborated that, "I'm just appalled. Judging from this, the United States seem to have a very confused vision of what national security means." So she is clearly referring to the fact that there is no regard for the health and safety of the public as we continue and purposely admit unscreened immigrants who are carrying diseases, in some cases deadly diseases. And we know that's a fact because we're now battling diseases we haven't seen in decades, sometimes longer, like, well, the bubonic plague. I really had a hard time believing that, but it's true. Anyway, Part 2, Weaponized Immigration. Part 1 of the series dealt with how the drug trade and narco-terrorism is being exported to the United States. Part 1 made it clear that the drug trade is being decentralized under crime bosses from organizations like HSBC, Band, and the Clinton Foundation. It is a form of franchising, and this represents the future law enforcement overthrow as well as the cultural demise of the United States by turning America into a narco-terrorist state like Colombia, Mexico, Peru, etc. A future part of in this series will clearly demonstrate that this invasion is well underway, as we all know, has the support of powerful politicians and heads of federal and state agencies, and enjoys complete anonymity from the mainstream media. Well, yeah, I don't think that they're ignoring it because they don't know about it. I think that they're ignoring it because they're being told to. Now, many of us in the independent media feel strongly that America needs to be softened up prior to the unleashing of a civil war, which will quickly be followed by an invasion of this country. The globalists are desperate to take down America, and it appears that this is their chosen path that is being unveiled before our very eyes. Now, I'm not sure that I agree totally with what he's saying here, but the premise is absolutely correct. They have weaponized immigrants, and the fact that all of these immigrants from the Congo are being are being flown over and then bussed in, is evidence enough. These people should be quarantined before they are allowed to cross the border. I don't even know. I mean, think of the fact that these people are getting off airplanes. They may have been contaminated. They may have contaminated other people on the plane. Then, you're in Mexico, which is, a very densely populated. This could be catastrophic, not just for the U.S., but also for Mexico and possibly other parts of the world as well, if there were people from other countries on board. I don't know. Anyway, Part 2 of the series deals with nation-destroying immigration as it has been weaponized, and the clear intent is to use illegal immigration and the increased accompanying health threats to destabilize our country. Why? The Trump administration and their new watchdog, the Attorney General, is poised to keep deep state members in prison for corruption, sedition, and treason. Some of their names are Pelosi, Clinton, Harris, Feinstein. They need distraction from the light being shown upon their criminality. These distractions include incessant talk of impeachment for a crime that the president has already been exonerated from, the distraction, a war with Iran or Russia or Venezuela or China or anyone else that is willing to stand up to deep state imperialism. Finally, and the topic of Part 2 of this series includes weaponized immigration and push for at least the appearance of a pandemic, and Ebola will do quite nicely. Thank you. The deep state hatched a plot to make Ebola appear to be an inevitable result of the world we live in. It is actually an easy task to spot this deadly false flag event, just as phony as the fake Iranian attack upon oil tankers. What we have, a deep state false flag that takes hundreds, soon to be thousands of Africans taken from Ebola-ridden countries, given each illegal flag, false flag participating immigrants. Give each illegal false flag participating immigrant hundreds of dollars, place them on the U.S. border, and hope that some of them will march across the border and have Ebola. There is an element of this false flag that should cause every American to want to hide under their beds and never come out. Just imagine if, and I shouldn't even say if, because I should say when Ebola breaks out in a big way. Think of the dollars that are going to be spent. Seriously. These people have to be isolated. There are all sorts of special protocols. There are ways of disposing the body. This is going to cost the country an inordinate amount of money. So we know this is a weapon, and it's very interesting that they would think that weapon up. Obviously, it's been done in the past because they thought about weaponizing bats. They've thought about weaponizing insects. maybe that is part of this. The insects are rising. I don't know. Maybe some of those insects are carrying diseases, and I just don't know. I don't know, but I know there's something really off with the world we're living in, really off. Some scoffed when I published that researchers from the Canadian government discovered in 2009 that Ebola could be transmitted across species through airborne means. And you'll hear the people that are talking about Ebola are saying, oh, it can't be spread. It's not airborne. Yes, it is. It is. It is airborne. Because there would be no explanation for the way that it's spreading if it was not airborne. This led to speculation that if Ebola could be transmitted through airborne means between mammals from different species and opened the probability that humans are vulnerable to the same process, the suggestion was met with some derision. Further research indicates that scientists have known for 10 years that Ebola is an airborne virus, as well as the means of transmission that the corporate controlled media tells you about, i.e. bodily fluids. I find it incredible that the mainstream media, the CDC, the Obama administration are silent as to the gravity of the Ebola threat, in which millions of people in this country and billions in the entire world are at greater risk because of these crimes of omission being committed against humanity by the aforementioned entities. There probably exists a mountain of work that shows just how Ebola is transmitted through the air, and still not one airport has been shut down, and not one of these studies has aired in the mainstream media. Ask yourself, why? Isn't the media there to inform the American people, to keep them informed, to keep them safe? No. I mean, that's what we think it's there for, most of us. I mean, we don't anymore because we've seen the evidence, and the evidence is overwhelming that it is a psyop, that it's controlled. All right. No one knows for certain how Ebola virus is transmitted from one person to the next. The virus has been found in the saliva, stool, breast milk, semen, and blood of infected persons. The virus has been found in the saliva, stool, breast milk, semen, and blood of, okay, that they put that sentence in there twice. Body fluids, example, vomit, diarrhea, blood, and saliva can result in the inhalable aerosol particles in the immediate vicinity of an infected person. Coughing was identified among some cases in the 1995 outbreak in Kitwit, Congo. Coughs are widely known to emit viruses in respirable particles. Actual vomiting produces an aerosol that has been implicated in airborne transmission of gastrointestinal viruses. Regarding diarrhea, toilet flushing emits a pathogen-laden aerosol that disperses in the air. If you are still not convinced they are sending our troops into a situation where they will likely contract Ebola through airborne transmission, then consider that both Marburg and Ebola viruses can be isolated from sera and tissue culture medium at room temperature for up to 46 days. Even in the most optimal of conditions, aerosol Ebola and Reston viruses at 50% to 55% relative humidity and 72% Fahrenheit had biological decay rates of 3.06% and 1.55 per minute, respectively. These rates indicate that 99% loss in aerosol infectivity would occur in 104 and 162 minutes, respectively. Simply put, when our troops walk into an infected zone, they can be infected for 1 hour and 44 minutes after the release of the Ebola into the air. So someone sneezes and you walk by that area an hour and a half later, you can be infected. That's how volatile this situation is, but we're not being told. When it comes to Ebola Reston, the virus can be contracted to aerosolized means for a period of 2 hours and 42 minutes, almost 3 hours. There is also strong experimental evidence that Ebola can be transmitted by airborne means. Jacks et al. reported the unexpected death of 2 rhesus monkeys housed approximately 3 meters from monkeys infected with Ebola virus, concluding that respiratory or eye exposure to aerosols was the only possible explanation. This scientific evidence merely scratches the surface with regards to the available data related to these facts as they are presented in this article. With Africans crossing the border in great numbers, the problem would be bad enough. Now that we know that Ebola is airborne, containment is nearly impossible. So let's read this conclusion here. How can one convince a public that it is being force-fed nonsense, voodoo science, that we do not have 2 genders but 300? We are re-entering the dark ages where superstition and propaganda masquerade as scientific fact. Ignorance is not bliss. What you do not know can and will hurt you. Absolutely. Part 3 of this series will return to the implantation of the various crime models from Central America into the United States. This is all brand new, and Americans are going to be shocked beyond all disbelief. I have no desire to paint a picture of absolute hopelessness. Therefore, I interviewed survival expert Robert Griswold. The interview was designed to teach people the steps they need to take in order to create their chances of survival. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this link in the description of the video, because there's lots more here, and there's links to different areas that you can, study more on your own. If this is something that concerns you, and I think it's something that should concern every American, every North American, really, because we share borders with Mexico and Canada. So yeah, it's a huge concern, and I think it should be obvious to everyone at this point that the immigrants are being weaponized. They are coming in. They do have diseases. They are spreading. All right, let's go back and let's get into something else here. This is something else that should be a concern to all of us, especially those of us that are Christians, and it's being completely ignored by the mainstream media, which shouldn't surprise us. Just hold 1 minute. Let me get a drink of water here. Water with lemon and a floating lemon seed. Okay. All right, let's go to this. Nigeria's Christian community slowly being erased as militants step up vicious killings and kidnappings. And this shouldn't surprise us. Actually, if you look at the statistics, Christianity is the most persecuted religion in the world. They are the most persecuted Christians. They have been being slaughtered en masse for decades now, and nothing is being done about it, and nothing ever reaches the mainstream media about it. It's always covered up. It has been almost 18 long and painful months since Rebecca Sarabu's teenage daughter Leah was kidnapped from her classroom by Boko Haram Islamic militants in Nigeria. While Leah's schoolmates were eventually freed, the ISIS affiliated insurgents refused to release the soft-spoken student because she would not relinquish her Christian faith. Now, Sharibu is turning to the U.S. government in a desperate plea for her child's life. I have brought my cry here. Leah is a beautiful child. She loves the Lord, and I'm so proud of her for not giving in, Shabiro told Fox News, but she has spent her 15th and 16th birthdays in captivity, and we need her home. The anguished mother is part of a small delegation of Nigerian activists who have descended on Washington this week with the support of charity and watchdog group Save the Persecuted Christians and coalition member, the International Committee on Nigeria, ICON. They are determined to shine a light not only on Leah's plight, but illuminate the harrowing and increasing persecution against Christians in Africa's most populous nation. Now, I think that this is wonderful that Fox News is reporting this, that at least it's getting out there now, but this has been going on, and not just in Nigeria, for a long, long time. The English, okay, I just read that. Those trapped within the bloodletting vow it is not only Boko Haram that has wrapped their lives in trauma and suffering, but other Muslim-dominant herdsmen factions, such as the Fulani, who are purportedly trying to erase them from the map. For Shabiru, the nightmare began on February 18th, 2018, when Leah was abducted by the hardline Salafist group who pledged allegiance to ISIS 4 years ago, along with more than 100 of her classmates in Dapchai. 5 girls died in captivity, and the others were eventually released. The whereabouts of Leah, who is just 14 at the time of her abduction, remains unknown. Now, the 5 girls that died in captivity, you can sure bet that they probably died. They were probably raped to death. Or they were assassinated for not following orders or what have you. It could be any number of things, but it's all horrific. So I'm not going to, well, let me read this. The last time Sharabu saw her daughter's face was in a video released last August by her captors. She was swathed in the traditional Islamic nijab. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, and pleading for the Nigerian government to bend to the militants' demands, and they threatened that they had only months to accede or Leah would be killed. The passage of time has brought nothing but arduous silence and activist fear. She is also being held as a sex slave and subjected to the most inhumane treatment imaginable. I am here just to plead with the government of the United States to please put pressure or assist the Nigerian government to ensure that Leah is released, to ensure that us Christians at home are given some relief. Sharabu continued, we are a democratic nation and we need to have freedom of religion, and we know that that is the heart of the United States. So there is more here, and you can find that on Fox News, but we need to, those of us that are believers, we need to pray for our persecuted brothers and sisters worldwide. This is not anything new, but it is intensifying. And, you know, we don't know that at some point, we may be persecuted in this country. We are to a point, we don't have the freedom of free speech anymore as Christians, as those that are right-leaning or conservative, those that support Trump. We are no longer given the privilege of free speech, but they haven't started slaughtering us yet. But we don't know what we're going to face in the future and how we might need their prayers at some point. So let's go on. Okay, Bernie Sanders. He's a piece of work, that one. Donald Trump is the most dangerous president in U.S. history. Well, he's dangerous to them. Yes, I would agree with that. He is the most dangerous president to the cabal in history. I would agree with that, but not overall. He is a racist, a sexist, a homophobe, a xenophobe, and a religious bigot. I would like to have some proof. Couldn't he just come up with one example of that? I mean, just one. I mean, he's making some pretty hefty accusations here. He betrayed the working class to further enrich the wealthy. Well, if you ask the working class, I don't think that they would have that to say. Do you? We're working class, probably. Most of us are working class. And, you know, don't think he's done us any harm. Our campaign is the best to defeat Trump because it is rooted in human solidarity. Okay, Bernie. Yeah. You know, he says Trump is a religious bigot, but didn't he say something about wanting to do away with Christianity? Yeah, that sounds pretty religiously bigoted to me, but hey. So look at these polls, like seriously, look at them and just, yeah. Bernie, 42%, and Trump, 32%. Did any of you see any of the footage from the rally? There was a request for 125,000 tickets. Now, not all those people got in, but did you see the people lining up for days in advance just to get into the stadium? Have you seen any Bernie rallies like that with more than, you know, maybe 80 people there? I haven't. I mean, I see people going to sleep and nodding off when he talks. He's kind of probably the most boring person on earth. I mean, that he could win the title for that, no doubt, hands down. I mean, all I need to do is put on a video of Bernie talking, and I'm out like a light. It's that draggy monotone voice. All right. Now, I'm going to skip that for now. And let's look at this. More about the onslaught of, hang on here. Well, dang it. Maybe I'm going to have to do this. I can't get to this for some reason. Copy. Yada-dum, da-da-dum. Maybe we'll find it. There we go. Border Patrol agents fall prey to illnesses plaguing migrant holding centers. I have heard this. I've heard that at any one given time, there are a lot of Border Patrol agents sick. So sick, in fact, that they can't come to work, and this is happening. They're having shortages of workers because they are falling prey to all these illnesses. Now, let's look at this. This is from the Washington Examiner. Eagle Pass, Texas. Some Border Patrol agents in Texas are concerned about exposure to Ebola by a migrant fleeing the Democratic Republic of the Congo for the United States, but more of them are worried about the other illnesses frequently popping up among detainees at stations across the southern border, according to union representatives. Border Patrol's holding facilities in the Del Rio and El Paso sectors or regions are inundated with sick detainees as well as sick agents. John Affinson is a National Border Council vice president and based in Del Rio, which includes Eagle Pass, where most Congolese are arriving. Anfison represents approximately 1,000 agents who are based out of 10 regional holding. Oh, yeah, that's Sammy knocking things off the table. He's been an agent 12 years and said that the number of people in custody and subsequent illnesses among that population is unprecedented. Let's come down here. Scabies, chickenpox. We had one case of the mumps here in Uvalde. I want to say we had measles, plenty of the flu, plenty of colds, body lice, just assorted. And some of these things, they spread like wildfire when you get into a cramped holding cell. It happens, Anfinson said. The continuous breakouts, in part caused by the overcrowded conditions in facilities and difficulty quarantining each sick person, are taking both a physical and mental toll on agents. It's not so much the workload, it's the constant illnesses. We have a lot of agents who are sick. The other day I talked to agents from 4 different stations, and every single one of them had a cough, Anfinson said. I'll go and I'll help process. There was one day I spent processing, and we had like 40 Guatemalans and Hondurans, and most of them had some kind of cough. And sure enough, the next day, I'm sick for a week, he said. It's become the new normal, and you got to just keep going and do your job because you can't just not process them. National Border Patrol Council Vice President and agent in El Paso, Wesley Ferris, said the breakouts rarely stop. They just dwindle down for a period. And my mom was a school teacher all of her life, and I know when there was something going around the school, my mother would always get sick. And when you have children sitting in a classroom like that, one gets a cold and they pretty much all get a cold. And it's the same here. You've got very crowded conditions, and especially something like lice. Oh my gosh, somebody has head lice or body lice, and they don't even have to be like right next to that person. It spreads like wildfire. So yeah, this is a big problem on the border. And I mean, this kind of, I wouldn't think that when they signed up to do this job, they ever thought it would come to this, where they would have so many people in such close quarters and so many people that are carrying illness. Anyway, It'll go in waves. Scabies, strep throat was the last one. Strep throat happened at the Santa Teresa station in New Mexico. It was everywhere, Ferris said. Active tuberculosis comes in fairly regularly. We had an incident of H1N1 swine flu in Clint, Texas with a juvenile, and then the ones that are most disruptive are the simple ones, regular flu or lice. Union officials in El Paso have urged the sector's 2,500 agents to wear gloves and face masks whenever possible. Neither official could provide confidential data on the amount of agent sick time used in order to see the brevity of sickness claims among Homeland Security employees. And who's paying for all this? Who's paying for who's paying for the wages for the Homeland Security, the increased need of Homeland Security agents, Border Patrol agents, and all this sick time costs them money. And it translates to taxpayer money, as does everything. Fair said that if he had his way, he would bring in physicians from the Centers for Disease Control. I think there's a Sammy back there somewhere. Oh, see, he gets me all discombobulated. He would bring in physicians from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention as a proactive measure. I think that would be a positive step in the right direction. Both officials said migrants are currently screened after being taken into custody and transported from where they are found to a Border Patrol station. Some agents will ask migrants why they're in the field if they need medical help, and will then acquire additional transportation if needed. Once back at the station, either Border Patrol... Sorry, I've got cat problems here. Get down. Down. I'm sorry. Some agents will ask migrants why they're in the field if they need medical help, and will then acquire additional transportation if it is needed. Once back at the station, either Border Patrol EMTs, medical personnel from the Coast Guard, or contracted doctors and nurses will take each person's vitals and examine them for signs of illness. If a person is deemed to be in good standing, he or she will be released into a holding cell with others. All others will be sent to a hospital. Following hospital tests and possible treatment, the detainee is turned back over to Border Control. Quarantining is difficult because of the lack of space at stations, both men said. Sorry, see, I should really go back and re-record all this because of Sammy, but I really don't want to do that. Yeah, somebody mentioned getting a Nerf gun. I could just pull out the Nerf gun and shoot him. I mean, shoot a ball. He would go chase after the ball, not shoot him. That's probably a good idea. I actually did look for a Nerf gun the other day, but could not find one. All right, that is all I'm going to do of that. It's very interesting. It's available on the Washington Examiner. And I think this is not the first time we've heard about Border Patrol agents falling sick in all this. And I don't know how they could not fall sick, to tell you the truth, unless they have immune systems made of steel. I really wouldn't want to be working in those conditions because I tend to have to be very careful. I get sick very easily. I've got a compromised immune system. And so I just wouldn't want a job like that. And not to mention you're bringing it home if you're married, or, you know, myself, I look after my mother and so forth, then I would be bringing it home to her. Anyway, let's go on here. All right, look at this Trump rally. Just look at it. Let me make it a little bit bigger for you. Look at that. See all those people? There's not a spare spot anywhere. You can't even spare a square there. Seriously, there's no place to stand unless you're in the halls, like in the aisleways, which is very dangerous. It's packed. It's completely and entirely packed. And yet they want us to believe that Joe Biden has 53% and Donald Trump 42%. That according to a Pennsylvania poll. I find that a little hard to believe, don't you? Joe Biden. Scratch and sniff Joe. Yep. He thinks he's gonna be the sniffer in chief. Well, I'll tell you one thing, he'll never sniff my hair. I wouldn't want to get close enough to them to... Ugh. All right, let's come down here and just see what else we have. A lot. And again, with the strange stuff going on, astonishing temperatures hit Kuwait with highs of 52.2 degrees Celsius. That is 126 degrees Fahrenheit. And 63 degrees Celsius, that's 145.4 degrees Fahrenheit under direct sunlight. 145 degrees. How does anyone survive that? I don't know. I remember being in a sauna and it was around 145 degrees and I thought I was going to die. Really. I thought, oh my gosh, I have to get out. Earlier this week, highs touching 51 degrees Celsius, 124 degrees Fahrenheit, hit parts of India, making it the hottest place on the planet. However, Kuwait has smashed that, weighing in with an astonishing 52.2 degrees Celsius. Kuwait on Saturday recorded the highest temperatures in the world, reaching 52.2 degrees Celsius, and in the shadows, that's in the shadows, and 63 degrees Celsius under direct sunlight, according to Al Quba's newspaper. Kuwait yesterday recorded the first death as a direct result of the unbearable temperatures, reports Al Rai Daily. The Daily added the victim died in Sarah as a result of heat stroke. When the operations room of the Interior Ministry received a report, security and the emergency medical personnel rushed to the spot and found the man dead. Some of his work tools were found next to the body. The forensic report showed the man died as a result of sunstroke because of his prolonged stay under the direct heat of the sun. And I would imagine that more than that have died because that is incredible heat. Now, I know that they are accustomed to the heat, but not like that. That's insane. All these strange, insects everywhere, strange temperatures, weird stuff going on the world over. Now, let's go back, and I'm going to skip this one as well for right now. And this from Nate Madden about Representative Jim Jordan. Representative Jim Jordan lights up congressional Democrats on the border crisis. All we're asking is real simple. Fix the asylum, fix the Flores decision, and approximately the $4.5 billion to help with the crazy situation that's going on our border. Well, of course, you know that triggered the Democrats. Of course. I mean, I think everything triggers the Democrats. Okay, and this from Charlie Kirk. Just last night, over 150, I thought it was 125,000, but it was over 150,000 requests for tickets to President Trump's re-election campaign. 25,000 plus Americans in attendance. $24.8 million raised in just 24 hours. Now, I thought there was more than 25,000 in attendance. I thought it was like 100,000, but maybe I'm way off. I don't even know what the arena held, but $24.8 million raised in just 24 hours. Donald Trump is going to win re-election. Democrats should be scared. 6 more years. Absolutely. That's what we want. And that's what we're hoping for. Now, I think that you might find this interesting. Hong Kong, of course, is rioting, but they're protesting. But their protest is the most peaceful protest I've ever seen in my life. And I saw a video of just this throng of people. I mean, just everywhere the eye could see people. And an ambulance had to get through. I guess there was someone there that needed attention. And the crowd just parted like a wave. It was the most incredible thing I'd seen. Everyone just parted. Like Moses parting the Red Sea. It was absolutely astonishing. So anyway, but look at what the official anthem is for, and I did, make sure that this is not a parody site because there are getting to be more and more of those. But it says, touching scene in the protest, people were singing, "Sing Hallelujah to the Lord." How come this is not a riot? Peaceful, very, very peaceful. Now I want to play this for you. You can see the stunned expressions on the police face. Like they're like, okay, well, we came here expecting a riot. What do we do with this? And apparently Sing Hallelujah to the Lord, which I've always loved that song, has become the unofficial anthem of the Hong Kong anti-extradition protest movement. This is like, I don't know, this does my heart good. I don't know about you. And I guess, you know, if you're not a believer, you don't know how profound this is because, you know, Christianity is despised the whole world over. And yet here these protesters peacefully protesting. There's no riot. There's no violence. They're just singing, "Sing Hallelujah to the Lord." A hymn sung by Christian groups participating in the ongoing anti-extradition protests in Hong Kong has caught on and become the quasi-anthem of the movement. Composed in 1974, the song is sung in a minor key and notable for its simplicity and catchiness due to its repeated harmonies of just one phrase. Alarmed by reports of police brutality, many church groups galvanized to participate in peace protests, calling on the authorities to stop the violence. Their presence on the front lines of the protests were helpful in making the demonstrators look more like an outdoor worship service rather than the organized riots the government said it had to crack down on to bring back law and order. So I think this is one of the best stories I've seen in a very long time. And it's one of those things that just warms the deep, dark cockles of my heart, whatever they are. So let's go on here. And this is interesting too. I found lots of interesting stuff today. New Zealand government website erases Israel from map and replaces it with Palestine. I'm sure that they wish that they could do it in a real way and not just a figurative way, a symbolic way by changing their maps. I'm pretty sure that that's what they would like to do in real life. But imagine, yeah, and I'm not going to get into this too much, but New Zealand's immigration website deleted a fact sheet about Palestine from its website after it caused outrage for identifying Israel as Palestine on a map. The government website published the map as part of a fact sheet about Palestinian immigrants in New Zealand, showing Israel highlighted in blue and marked as Palestine. The West Bank is not included in the highlighted area. So, yeah, the Israel Institute of New Zealand called on the immigration minister to immediately apologize for the offending image and confirm that it does not reflect government policy. It also called for an investigation. The Institute's director, Ashley Church, described the map as incredibly offensive and the equivalent of New Zealand immigration displaying a map of the UK, which removed Scotland and Wales and referred to the entity of the British Isles as England, the Jewish News reports. Well, yeah, so interesting. Now, we're getting to the end here because I don't really want to go over an hour. We're getting up close to an hour, and I do want to record another video immediately after this because there's a lot of stuff to get to. But let's take a look at this. Interesting that President Trump is bringing up Hillary and her emails continuously over the past few days, which he is. It's almost as if he's setting the stage for something big to be announced regarding her. I would tend to agree with that because even at the rally last night, President Trump said something about the 33,000 emails and said, well, maybe we can find those, or I can't remember the exact words. And then he says, we'll see what happens. Well, when Trump says we'll see what happens, something always happens. So I am thinking that He's just baiting. He's baiting. So that's my story anyway, and I'm sticking to it. All right, now let's look at one more thing here. California school has condom race where 10-year-old girls learn how to put on condoms. No kidding. No kidding. Yeah, that's what our schools are becoming in California. So I think I'm gonna pause here and get this uploaded and go on with the next half of the news because there's a lot more to get to. And anyway, I'm going to cut it off there and wish you all well. Stay safe. It just left my mind. I wanted you to stay something. Stay safe. I don't know. It's gone. See? I don't know. Keep seeking truth though. Deception bites. It does. Bites hard. All right. That's it for now.